So we have atoms. That's what we're learning about. All right, all matter is made of atoms. So everything, whether it's you, whether it's your computer you're working on, or a pencil you're holding, or the headphones you're listening to, or your dog, everything is made of atoms. The food that we eat is atoms. The vitamins that we take, if you take vitamins in the morning, those are all made of atoms. So atoms make up everything. You can never trust an atom because they make up everything. Alright, so the atoms are made of these smaller particles. So when we look at atoms, we're going to see that they're made of even smaller particles. And those smaller particles are called protons, neutrons, and electrons. So for your first assessment, the only thing you need to know about are protons, neutrons, and electrons. And so that's all, and we're just going to go a little bit deeper in what those are. So when you're looking at an atom, you have all this empty space right here, and then you have this dense part called the nucleus. So your nucleus is this dense part in the center, and then the rest of this is your empty space, and we'll talk about what that is as well. So inside your nucleus, you have protons. All right, these are going to be positively charged. So protons are positively charged. They have a charge of a weight of 1 atomic mass unit, or AMU, atomic mass unit. They're so small that we don't even bother measuring them in grams. We just give them their own unit of measurement because they're so tiny. So protons are positively charged. That's how I remember. Protons positively charged. Protons positively charged. Now, the number of protons also determines what element you have. So when you have atoms with the same number of protons, they're going to be the same exact type of element. And we're going to talk about elements as well. So protons, the atomic number determines the element that you got. So if you were looking at a periodic table, you would see that hydrogen has 1 proton, helium has 2 protons, lithium has 3 protons, and then that also happens to be their atomic numbers. Hydrogen is 1, helium is 2, lithium is 3 on the periodic table. And it goes all the way to 118 as of now. Who knows one day. Then you're going to have these little electrons. Now electrons are not going to be found in the nucleus. So they're going to be found in this empty space area. And they're just moving around. Remember, this is 3D. So they're moving all around this empty space area. And they are negatively charged. That one's not as easy to remember. Electrons negatively charged, like protons being positively charged, but I think you can still remember it. And we call this area around it the electron shells or the levels. So the area around it, we're going to call those electron shells or levels. It depends. Sometimes they even call it the electron cloud. Electrons are super, super tiny. Really, if I did this to scale, the electrons wouldn't even be able to, you wouldn't be able to see them because they're 1,850th the size of a proton. So these are very, very tiny, and they're so tiny we just don't even weigh them. Like they don't add weight to the atom, so nobody measures that weight. All right, next we have neutrons. So neutrons are the neutral particles. So neutron, neutral. So you have proton, positive. Neutron is neutral, and now we have, and then you have electrons are negative. That's the only one that doesn't match well, but I think you can still remember it. Neutrons also have they also have a mass of 1 atomic mass unit. So they are just like protons. They have the same exact masses as each other. So hydrogen is the only element that does not usually have a neutron in it. So your proton numbers and your neutron numbers are not going to be the same. They're not always the same. Sometimes they are, but most of the time they're not. And hydrogen has 1 proton and 1 electron, but it has no neutrons. All right, so talk about atoms. They're mostly empty space. The mass comes from the protons and neutrons in that nucleus. So they are mostly empty space, and their mass is going to come from here. This is all empty space right here. And then you have little bitty teeny tiny electrons just moving around. So that's it. Thank you. All right, so I know it didn't work yesterday, so I thought, well, let's try videoing a lesson and maybe that'll help. And hey, you get to see my costume a little bit more. So we're talking about atoms, and let's think about atoms. So atoms are really small, you guys told me yesterday. They're really small, they're really tiny, and we started thinking, like, some of you said they make up a lot of stuff in your Jamboard. And thank you to those of you who redid your sticky note already, and if you have not in your Google Jamboard, go ahead and do so that way I can continue on with the activity later on this week using those sticky notes. So, atoms, that's what we're learning about today, and we're going to really look at atoms throughout the rest of these 2 weeks, and then they're going to help us build. We're just going to build on atoms throughout this year, and everything we do, we're going to reference atoms throughout the entire year until we get to like April. So these are going to be super important for us, and that's why I want to spend 2 weeks on this for our quiz.